maybe we don't have Amber at all, maybe tonight. That's what happens. Okay, so whenever we are ready, thank you. Oh, we're contributing already. And I do see Rose from Clare. Well, obviously Rose, hello from Clare, and Rachel from the Green Elephant Mental Health Initiative based in Galway. Another YourY network, that is good. Maybe you were able to get it from the first time. Neo from Dublin, hello to you. I hope maybe everybody is a part of the Good Summit, has seen some of the incredible conversations that are happening, but there's going to be more over the next 2 days. So hopefully that will be good. And Stuart is asking, not where are we from, but are we ready to go? So Leila, are we ready? Shall we hit record button and let's get the show on the road?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
Already hit my
Leila, can you give me back co-hosting abilities, and I will be able to work from there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Good Summit YourY Network, Irish Social Enterprise Network program for tonight. We're delighted to have you along to the Good Summit 2020. Obviously, I know some faces from the Good Summit that I've seen before. This is the Good Summit online version. So I would just like to get a number of housekeeping rules. If I'm allowed to do some screen share there, that would be great, Leila. And we'd like to maybe welcome you all. As I said before, please do put in any questions that you have, and hopefully our moderator, Donald Trainer, will be able to get around to them during the conversation. We'd like to, if you could introduce yourself as well, because, you know, we're a good little group that are hopefully all for the same reason, and hopefully going to enjoy good conversations tonight. But it's only as good as you make it different and extra than you are as it is beforehand. Now, Leila, I believe your sound is causing some issues. For the housekeeping, if you could just leave your microphone on mute, that would be excellent. We'd really appreciate that. And if you could make sure that when we're going through this, that you could use the chat box just as much as possible to ask those questions. We want to get your opinions, but we want to make sure that it doesn't disrupt our flow, and 50 people unmuting their microphone all at once possibly does that. Leila, I'm still just waiting for you to be able to give me co-host there, and I'll be able to
Sorry, Chris, how do I do that?
Do my name and click more and then co-host. Because this is technology, ladies and gentlemen. This is the world we're now living in. I'm not able to just steal the remote control anymore. I'm not able to go on the microphone. This is all about teamwork. So as soon as I have that is excellent and good. Okay, boom. I think we're ready. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for allowing me those extra few little moments. I am going to see if I can make that share full screen. I can't. We have a huge amount of people that have been involved in this. It's not just ourselves, but this night would never happen if it weren't for particularly the YourY Network and Leila, who we are also very much proud of. But it is in collaboration with so many partners who are speaking at this, and we'd encourage you all to find out more about them on the chat box. So a couple of things. When we are chatting here today, we want to do some little bit of background. Obviously, this is about Let There Be Hope for celebrating social entrepreneurs. Your stories are just as important. So as part of the Good Summit, we are trying to foster good relationships and make sure that we do leave the world in a better place. You guys are best suited to figure out what that means for you and your situation. We do want to hear from you. So do please go online. Feel free to interact. This show is also recorded, so we will be able to catch up well below as well. Just give you an agenda. So we're slightly 7 to 7:05, and we're going to pass over to our keynote, who hopefully is online. Then we're going to go to some online networking, and we are going to do some closed panel discussions. Remember, in the online networking, it will require you guys just to unmute your microphones and find out from other people that are here. So we will do that at just before 8 p.m. for 10 minutes. And then we will come back and we will close the panel discussion. and hopefully then after that, give you some time. I do have one other addition, which is please do use social media. Obviously, you're on your computer. We want you to be intimately listening. But if there are some tweetable moments, or if there's something you think might be good for Facebook or something, please do just encourage you to speak more widely and to use that. There is a hashtag SoSentIRL, which we have teamed up with every Wednesday at 9 o'clock, hosted by the Irish Social Enterprise Network. And tonight's conversation will be on that. So if you have Twitter and you don't use it, or if you're a Twitter power user, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is your time. I can almost guarantee a favorite, maybe even a retweet. So if you are on Twitter tonight, hashtag SoSentIRL, that will be amazing. Okay, so that's about going back. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to welcome one of my friends, if he is online. I am not 100% sure if he is or not. Is Amr Dawood online? Amr, can you speak now or forever hold your peace? Amr's not currently online from the Good Summit, so I will have to represent the Good Summit. We are a collection and consortium of people over 3 days this year, doing great work to try and highlight good stories from all across the world. I don't need to tell you that, you're already aware, but if you haven't already checked out some of the other speeches that are going on, please do check them out. So without the welcoming note from Amr, we can probably skip and have an extra couple of minutes. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panel moderator for this afternoon, a good friend of the Irish Social Enterprise Network, somebody who has always put social entrepreneurs first. He will also give you loads of money. He expects a return, but not always. Sometimes he just wants to give money out because he's that kind of guy, ladies and gentlemen. So do ask him for loads of money. That's the kind of guy he is. He is from Community Finance Ireland, somebody who's been supporter of the sector for the past number of years. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it in his capable hands for our conversation with some of our incredible panel. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to do a round of applause, but for the crack, Donald Traynor. Well done. Donald Traynor.
Thank you very much, Chris, and welcome everyone to this brought forward first section of our Q&A panel discussion, where we will continue to avail of meeting with and celebrating social entrepreneurs with some very well-known practitioners here. As Chris has already said, my name is Donald Traynor, moderator for this discussion. I work for a social enterprise called Community Finance Ireland, which specialises in providing finance to not-for-profit taking entities. And they all share the same goal or ethos that we have, and that is to make social impact felt rather than just simply dreamt. And if you haven't heard about us before, or you're not sure exactly what it is that we do, please visit our website. It's communityfinanceireland.com, or visit us on social media, because if there's one thing that we like to do, and that is talk to you. So now, with that selfless plug out of the way, our panelists this evening are Vicky Brennan, CEO of Proudly Made in Africa; Siobhan Cafferty, Social Enterprise Project Manager working with the Irish Prison Service and Probation Service; Ellie Kisiombe, co-founder of Our Table; and Dermot McCarthy, CFO and co-founder of Under the Rainbow. Now, during discussion, as Chris said earlier on, if any of you have any questions, please submit them through the chat box there. Leila's on hand then to upload them onto a Google form for me, and we will get them if we possibly can. To be fair to this group, we haven't rehearsed any of these questions. They don't know what they're going to be asked, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem because they are a fairly chatty bunch. So no doubt they'll keep me on my toes. And that being said, let's get down to business. Vicky Brennan, CEO of Proudly Made in Africa. Former fashion buyer turned labour rights expert with experience in factories and farms across 3 continents. And I don't know if that includes Mayo in Ireland, but nonetheless, in her current role, she works with African SMEs, assisting their business growth to provide much needed sustainable employment in sub-Saharan Africa. Vicky, you're very welcome.
Thanks very much, Donald. What an intro. Hope I can live up to it.
Well, just to get the ball rolling, Vicky, perhaps you might introduce yourself and share with us your why and the work that you do at Proudly Made in Africa, and give us a sense of the social impact you're currently or propose to deliver in the future. Now, there's 3 questions there. You get 5 points for every answer. Okay. And if you forget a question, you get a point dropped.
Damn it. Okay. Okay. So why do I get up in the morning? And I've forgotten the other two already. So I'll just have to go for the basic five.
I'll give you a second shot at the challenge.
Grand. So I think why I do what I do, but maybe 2 or 3 jobs ago, I had the opportunity to go to Sub-Saharan Africa for business. I went to Ethiopia, and then later that year I went to Uganda to visit a friend who I had studied with in Dublin. And I'd never been to Africa before. I'd probably looking back on it now, my only engagement with the continent would have been what I see on TV here and what's on the front of troker boxes every Lent. So I kind of went out thinking, God, will there be water? And will I catch malaria? Like just really, really basic, silly things. And then, of course, I was going with a big corporation who were putting me up in, the equivalent of a Hilton hotel. So I never really got to see all of the stuff that is on the cover of the troker boxes. And actually, what we were dealing with that first trip was these really, really high tech factories that were making clothes for people all around the world. And they were as high tech as anything you would see in China or South Asia. So then, kind of as I was digesting everything, I was kind of getting quite angry. With myself for my stupidity and my ignorance, but then also with all of the messages that we get fed in this part of the world about what the African continent is, what it does, and what it can do. So between the jigs and the reels, I've ended up at Proudly Made in Africa. And the goal of Proudly Made in Africa is to support African businesses, to create African jobs so that African people can lift themselves out of poverty. We think that's the fastest way to resolving the issue of poverty in Africa. It's not a poor continent. I'm sure there's plenty of people who know Africa a lot better than I do, but the continent itself is not poor. It has an abundance of natural resources, but the way international trade is set up and the way business is set up and the way kind of developed versus developing, or as we increasingly start to call it, a Proudly Made in Africa, exploited versus exploiting countries. Things have been made too difficult for African manufacturing to develop and for African businesses to thrive. So Proudly Made in Africa exists to change all of that. And I suppose it's worth pointing out at this point in time that we are a 3 or 4 man team. So yeah, sure, no job's too big.
And can I ask then, Vicky, on the basis of that, I mean, what has the activity involved over the last 12 months?
Yeah, so well, over the last 12 months, it's been a different type of year. I think when I was kind of standing looking at the operational plan for the year in January, I didn't really fathom that I'd be doing the bulk of my work sitting where I am currently, which is the front room in my house. So in the past 12 months, we've been quite busy. We have relaunched our website like twice now at this stage, and at the end of this month, we're probably going to launch it again. We had a look at we were coming to the end of a period of our strategic plans. We needed to redevelop it. So in January, we got all the board together and we sat down and we said, actually, the very question you've just asked me, Donald, which is why do we exist? Because we had this very esoteric spiel about what we do and why we do it. And what we used to say was, we are trade facilitators that match buyers to African producers. And then people go, great, well, what do the African producers make and how big are they and what do they do? So now we've kind of said, okay, yes, that is part of what we do, but that's not why we do it. So why we do it is because Africa as a continent, and I'm speaking specifically about sub-Saharan Africa, has the most educated generation in history, all bouncing out of schools, colleges, and university with very little to do. So I think the African Development Bank published about 2 or 3 years ago that there are 12 million people graduating into the jobs market every year in sub-Saharan Africa to fill 3 million jobs. So that's at least 9 million people that will enter the job market every year with nothing to do. So how are you ever going to break the poverty cycle if you don't look at creating sustainable and decent work for people to do. So we had this brainstorming session where we're like, that is why we exist. We exist to create jobs for people, and not just any jobs, not road sweepers, not kind of farmers that are not resilient to climate change, like decent work for educated people to do, for them to put money aside for their future generations of their family. That's what we exist to do. So we stripped that all back, and then we rewrote our strategy and our ops plan, and then we put it all onto a lovely website. And then COVID hit, and what we would normally do with our producers is we would get them access to trade shows, or we would represent them at trade shows so that they could interact with buyers who would then buy their products and grow their exports and create the jobs. Excellent. But with COVID, very hard to do that type of work from the bedroom. So we thought, actually what we need now is an online shop front. So we're launching now at the end of this month our first online shop. So it'll be B2C and B2B. So people can actually go see the products, taste the products, buy the products, support the businesses, get the jobs created.
Wow, that's we'll be back to you, Vicky. We'll be back.
Yeah, sorry, very long.
Move on, but that is extremely interesting stuff. Siobhan Cafferty. Siobhan is a social enterprise project manager working with Irish Prison Service and Probation Service. I know she's there somewhere.
I'm here, Donald. Yeah, I'm here.
Siobhan, you're former CEO of the Bridge Project and a social enterprise project manager working with the Irish Prison Service and Probation Service. Siobhan worked on developing the social enterprise strategy for the Department of Justice and Equality and New Way Forward Social Enterprise Strategy 2017 to 29. Very welcome this evening, Siobhan. Now, similarly, an interesting and no doubt highly rewarding line of work to be involved in, but I'm intrigued as to how you find yourself leading up this social enterprise unit. And can you give us therefore an insight into what attracted you to the role, what enthuses you about it on an ongoing basis, and what your ideal vision of social enterprise within the prison service and the probation service looks like? Please, Siobhan.
Oh my God, Donald, you'd be great in the late show. That's 3 questions, popping it out there. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I tell you, yeah. Ryan Turbiddy, watch your back. No, brilliant questions. And I should just say in advance that I apologize for my dog that is at any moment going to make another reappearance. Thank you, Dermot, for jinxing me earlier on. He is very needy and he is looking at me with sad eyes. But anyway, he's over there. He will make an appearance because he knows yes, he's right here now. That's okay. Get down. I wasn't joking. That actually was my dog. So why do I do what I do? How did I start out? And yeah, you may have to prompt me for the rest of the questions, Donna. But why do I do what I do? I suppose I have always worked in the community and voluntary sector. I've always worked with marginalized groups, from drug using women, homeless people, people who've left school early, members of the traveller community, and more recently, as you mentioned, in the Bridge Project, where I was the CEO and managed that. And as a project funded by the Probation Service in Dublin, in the Liberties, but worked with people from all over Dublin. And our client group was adult male violent offenders. So primarily those that really, when you put in a CV, it's not someone who's really attractive to any employer. However, we got people when they came out of prison, when they had invested a huge amount of time in trying to change their lives around. They came out and they came into us within the Bridge Project. And we again did more and more work with them to get them to the point where they were a little bit more attractive to employers. And we wanted to give them the opportunity to be able to use their skills and talents that they had and to be able to bring about change. But what we were finding was that the criminal record, the invisible label of offender or former offender or ex-prisoner stuck with them. And that not only had an impact on obviously their future employment options, it also had an impact on their own self-worth and how they viewed themselves and whether they could be worthy. So in many cases, and I've said this many times before, an awful lot of people who come out of prison, they haven't seen hope. They haven't experienced hope when they're in prison. They don't necessarily have a huge amount of hope about their future. So and for any one of us who's on this call now, if you've ever experienced hopelessness, it is a very, very dark place to be. So we need to be able to really turn that around. So within the Bridge Project, as I said, we did everything that we could. And in many cases, Donna, we were very successful in getting people into employment, but there was a cohort of people that basically just needed a buffer. They needed a stepping stone, and having done research on it, I found social enterprise as a potential model that could work as that buffer to give people the opportunity to go in somewhere, to be able to test out their skills and talents primarily for themselves, to be honest with you, not necessarily the employer, but for them to test that out and show themselves that that they're able to work full time, that they're good at it, that they have skills and talents that employers want. And then from the employer side of things, that they're able to say, yeah, this is a good person. Yes, they have a past, but none of us want to be defined by our past. So by moving and I suppose supporting social enterprise as a model of providing employment opportunities for people who have a criminal record, what we're starting to see is that people are bringing about change for themselves. And as I said, long story short, I then took a secondment to the Prison and Probation Service, and nearly 5 years later, I'm still here. We wrote the first strategy on social enterprise, which was back in 2017. We've got the next one coming out now on the 20th of November. Watch this space. And it's even more ambitious than our first one. And I suppose it is very much about let there be hope. And yes, we have challenges now with COVID, but out of every challenge, I believe comes opportunities. Who would have thought even 5, 6, 7 months ago that we'd all be sitting around on a Wednesday evening looking at tiny screens and faces of people? You know, stuff I suppose that is possible now was seen as an impossibility a year ago. And I really think that we need to grab that with both hands and run with it. So I suppose to come back to your original questions, my why is, why do I get up? Why do I do what I do? Because I believe that with small changes, we can have big impacts, and that we all have a part to play in finding solutions to societal problems.
And Siobhan, then in terms of looking into the future, the utopia situation for those within the prison service and social enterprise and how it plays out, how do you see that? What does it look like for you, the vision?
I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I had. But I mean, your question is a very valid one. And I suppose one of the things that I would say is, it is about, we have to be able to role model. We have to be able to show people who are in the system that there is a future for them if they decide to take that. And this is very much around that personal choice piece. And there's some people on the screen now today that I see that have been through that journey and have come out the other end and are doing incredibly well, Donald. And we need to be able to show others that that is an option for them, that actually returning to criminality and that way of life that an awful lot of people really do want to break that cycle with, but there's numerous barriers that they face that, you know, social enterprise and being employed in a social enterprise will give them that much needed employer to employer work reference. So then they can springboard out of that and into mainstream employment. And that's what we're seeing. So again, I suppose from the criminal justice sector side of things, it's being able to show that it's possible. And once something is possible, there has to be a way.
Thank you very much, Siobhan. I'm going to move on swiftly now to Ellie Kisiombe. Wait till you hear this. In 2015, Ellie co-funded an Irish cafe award-winning social enterprise called Our Table with fellow activist and chef Michelle Darmody. In 2016, Ellie was an award-winning radio drama, Flight Risk. In 2018, she featured as part of Dublin City Council Culture Company's Local Hero. In 2019, Ellie was the first asylum seeker to run for the local election and also worked hand in hand with TD Gary Gannon. Ellie is originally from Malawi, has experience living in direct provision system for many years in Ireland. Ellie has also spent many years volunteering with Irish Refugee Council on the campaign to end direct provision and was a key participant in public outreach and awareness raising activities. My goodness. Ellie, how are you? Where are you?
I'm very good. Despite
good to see you again. Ellie.
Good to see you all, and I'm very good. You know, like despite with all the drama that's going on and the people that we've actually lost, I can only say may they so rest in peace. But as what Siobhan said, that like during the difficult times, it also comes opportunity. It comes with opportunities. So like that's what we can actually look as one of the things that can actually uplift all of us. So I'm good.
Ellie, I get a sense that if I were to ask you to share your journey with us, it would take a separate webinar completely. So you're making a career of railing against adversity, in my view here.
Yeah.
In terms specifically of your work with Our Table, can you share with us where that concept came from, what it's all about, and what drives you to continue on in its development?
Yeah, so direct provision came about in regard of protesting to end direct provision. What I myself and my friend, my fellow co-founder, Michelle Damode saw was, at that time, you know, like I've been one of the asylum seekers that have spent a lot of time in direct provision, and I've experienced the worst, the better, and now where we are going with direct provision. So the time that I was actually coming here to Ireland to seek my asylum, direct provision was not even a better system. It was really a very, not only difficult to navigate, but also an impossible to live in. But fortunately enough, I was really lucky that, you know, like despite that I came here and I was in dark times, I lifted myself up and even got volunteer work with Irish Refugee Council, who by then the CEO, Sue Conlan, saw me and asked me like, you know what, Ellie, you've been doing a lot of things, you know, do you mind come and join us and, you know, like get the outreach position? And I was like, I'm delighted to do so. Although they didn't have much to actually offer me, but for me, I saw opportunity that if I can work with this NGO, which is a bigger NGO to look after asylum seeker and refugee, that can actually help me to send my message out, which really worked really well. And in 2014, it's when I met Michelle Damode, and Michelle Damode has heard that asylum seekers are not allowed to cook. And, you know, like there were many other reasons, like earning €19.10 a week, an asylum seeker being spent a lot of time, you know, like maximum to over 5 years, which people they've stayed for over 10 years in direct provision. And also they didn't have the right to work, and they didn't also have a right to education. So there was basically nothing really for people other than to live like in an open prison, whereby you live there from the first day that you entered in the system and you don't know when you're going to come out. And also you don't even know the crime that you've actually committed. Mental health has been a very, very big part of people that have stayed in direct provision, domestic violence, crime, and all sorts of, you know, negative stuff. And unfortunately, Irish society did not even understand what happens to people in direct provision. So in all of this context, that's what made me and Michelle to actually co-found Our Table. And our aim to co-found Our Table was to create a platform whereby people could come and break bread, and not only break bread, but to come and meet people from this background, from the refugees and asylum seeker, and being able to talk to them. Instead of the people coming there and talk about their traumatization of their stories, their journeys, the people that they've lost, you know, like the trauma, the stories, the hard stuff that they've been experienced. But maybe it's easier to talk to somebody like face to face. And you know, when even you are explaining your story and the situation, that it's very kind of like easier for somebody to actually understand you. And another thing that we have to put in account is food is a very deep and breaking tool. People talk when they eat, you know, like when you are hungry, you can't even do anything, you'll be paralyzed. But once the food is in front of you, and make it worse, that food, it's something that you've been really dying for. People tell all sorts of stories. And like, I should tell you something, that in Africa, we have a proverb. We say, if you want to catch a criminal, right, give them food. They will tell you everything. So, you know, like this was something that I and Michelle, it interests us. And I'm not sure where Michelle was coming really. I don't know if she saw this to be like like a long run opportunity. But for me, once I encountered in this and see the problem that also we were going in direct provision, I saw something deeper than that. And there was another aspect of it, was to create a space whereby if you've lived in direct provision, or even if you've lived out of work for over 3 years, you become unemployable. You even become like less self-esteem. And you know, with that, it's very, very easy for you to engage to the public and to engage to people. So people that have left behind in direct provision for a long time could come to Our Table and being able to also volunteer, and that will keep them having exercise, that when they get their status, they can actually be able to go ahead and, you know, get a job without any difficulties, and talk to people without any difficulties. So I think that's where we were actually coming from. It really showed that it was a very good solution for what we thought. And in 2015, we started cooking around Dublin. We started bringing people. And in our groups that we brought people, we were bringing like maybe 15 to 20 people. The conversation was very interesting. People were happy. I think if I can say like one of the best moments in my life, one of the very, very best moments in my life will be the very first day that we started like meeting in the kitchen of Life Minds with the people that I took from direct provision, men and women. It was like we were in a therapy club. It was like, we know when you've come out of the prison and then you go to a rehab whereby you sit down and you talk about the events. And I can tell you, I've seen tears, but I've seen tears that breaks my heart. But that day, it was tears that I can't even tell you the emotions that were there, whether I was broken or I was happy, because people could talk. People could talk with tears. People could explain about their food that they cooked on that day, the culture, the traditions, the spices that they put in that food. And some could tell you how they've remembered their family members, their mothers, the people that they lost. It was a high emotion of that. At the end of that, me and Michelle, I remember we sat down and we said, Michelle, we have to do this. And from there, we go around Dublin and we did pop-up we did pop-up street cafes. And then in 2016, it's when we were really lucky to early 2016, we did a 2-day pop-up cafe in the Project Art Center where we fed 700 people each day. And we had doctors, we had lawyers, we had teachers, we have public servants, and people were like coming like, this is actually really good. And I remember in 2016, people from direct provision that were going to see doctors were telling them that, have you heard about this organization called Our Table? Go there and come and see me like in a month time. And we've documented all of that story.
Do you know something, Ellie? We're only at 20. I knew this was going to happen. We're only at 2016. And we've learned so much. So I'm going to come back to you on that one, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Dermot McCarthy is next up. Dermot is CFO and co-founder of Under the Rainbow. And Dermot is a psychotherapist and accredited member of the Irish Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. Previously an accountant with 20 years plus experience with SMEs and large corporates. 2018, he set up Inner Voice. 10 years experience personal and professional in therapy. 2019 founded Under the Rainbow. He's CFO of that as a social enterprise. He deals in areas of low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, LGBTQ+, grief and loss, sexuality, anger management, and a rake of other stuff. He's led and presented workshops both online and offline. Now, Dermot, where are you, sir? You're around?
I'm here. I can see you.
Now, Dermot, we spoke briefly last week by way of introduction, and I was immediately struck by your upbeat persona and readiness to suggest options and exercises for making people feel happier. And needless to say, and I'm sure our viewers and our listeners here this evening will be interested to hear about Dermot McCarthy's journey and why he does what he does. And I'll warn you, good sir, you've 5 minutes.
5 minutes, here we go. Right, time on, I'm ready for this. Told me stories so many times. Anyway, well, short and brief. In 2009, I was going up the ladder in the corporate world as a thriving accountant where recession hit and I lost my job and got voluntary redundancy. Little did I know that within that year that I would not find another job and I would suffer from depression. So I sought help and I went to a therapist and I worked on myself. And then I found out, my God, there's a few things I need to work and embrace who I am, but also had a massive interest in this therapy world. And I asked her a question about studying it and she told me, gave me a recommendation and off I went. I did a foundation course in counselling and I qualified, lo and behold, about 2 or 3 years ago, I qualified as a therapist. Life throws me redundancy again and I jump at the chance and I get redundancy and I set up my practice Inner Voice. And within that year, I was working in another therapy centre in Dublin and I met another therapist, Gillian Fagan, and the two of us had an instant connection. And at the same time, I met Philippa Ryder, a very good friend. She's on the call as well. So the three of us met one time. I remember Philippa saying, why am I here? But I saw something and Gillian saw something and the three of us got together, We are members of the LGBT plus community, but that's not all about us. You know, we are being on the outside. We've embraced who we are. We actually we had this vision together. I'll never forget that coffee morning, and Gillian had the idea of setting up Under the Rainbow. 3 of us got together. We're only a year old, well, just over a year old. And like many social enterprises, COVID hit us hard. But in March, we adapted really well. We adapted to this online world. And now where we are is that we are inundated with a therapy centre, we're inundated with clients, particularly in this time now, we're inundated. Corporates are looking out for training, diversity, inclusion, belonging. Corporates are now taking involvement in looking at their staff well-being. So they're reaching out to us, not just LGBT plus, but diversity, inclusion, belonging. So probably like my own journey where I adapted and I found who I was, we in Under the Rainbow have done the same thing. The 3 of us are a powerhouse, and our job and our purpose in Under the Rainbow is to empower people, no matter where they come from, no matter what background they have, no matter what the color of their skin. That is what our goal is in social enterprise. How do I do in 5 minutes?
You're actually flying. You're underneath the radar here, Damien. So feel free. I'm interested because I know through our own work we come across quite a few counselling services.
Yes.
That are availing of our own facilities, and I just wondered in your case, how do you market yourself then, or do people know about you, or how do you go out and reach your target market?
No, we have a website, and we have Under the Rainbow website. We have. You see, the thing about it is that all of us have come from the corporate background of public service. So we brought those skills with us. We do find, not to disrespect members of my fellow profession in therapy world, they don't really know how to market themselves. You know, we had that from the corporate world and public service, that we can actually put ourselves out there and believe in ourselves. Me, from being an ex-accountant, have the experience of finance, so I brought that in. So marketing, that's where now we are really now stepped up. We have bounced back from this COVID-19. Yes, we're back in a lockdown again, but we're bouncing back again. We're adapting, we're marketing, we're selling ourselves out there, you know. So it's really, we've brought the skills that we've learned from the corporate world and the public service world, and we brought into social enterprise. Personally, and as well as speak for my colleagues, we sit perfectly in this social enterprise entrepreneurs, and it's great to have this network because we want to learn more. What we do, we have a website, underrainbow.ie. We market therapy side of things. We get Psychology Today, we're on there, and people can come to direct us. But we're really passionate about providing low-cost counselling. So we're now delighted to say that we have our first student with us. We're going to have another student come on board. So we're looking at the low cost, because that's another area that if I focus on, that we want to provide therapy and counselling to everyone, because it can be outpriced for some people, you know. So we really want to focus on providing low cost therapy for all members of the community, regardless of who they are. So that's the area that we're looking at, and there's many areas we're looking at, but one of them is low cost counselling particularly. Secondly is going to the corporates and teaching how to look after your staff mental health. And thirdly, the community. I don't know about all of you, but lately, or even today, I've seen an awful lot of people in distress, but I hear the positivity. This is what I want to give about this talk, and I've heard Siobhan, I've heard all our excellent speakers so far, to give hope to people. You know, I was in a terrible place years ago. I was in the depths of depression, but I got myself out of it. And what I do now is that I give what I learned to the people who come into my room, into the therapy room. I'm in my therapy room at the moment, but equally my colleagues do the same thing. We want to go to companies, we're going to teach how to look after your staff. Mental well-being is a high top priority, and it doesn't, to look after your staff, a variety of all backgrounds. So that is what our goal is. We are literally going to be looking at forming ourselves more in a structured way. You know, we're going to get a board, because I've heard stories from other speakers and they're years ahead, let's say, but they're structured, which is great to get the experience that we're lacking to understand other people's experience in setting up a social enterprise. Because honestly, it was very confusing setting up a social enterprise, but it's great to have this networking and sharing ideas, because that's where we're at. We want to put our structure together and market ourselves, which we are capable of doing, but get a structure so and sell it out there and get people out there to reach out to people who feel they're on the outside, that there's a safe place to come and be supported and personal development for that individual.
Thanks a million for that, Dermot. I'm going to shoot back to Vicky Brennan, if I may. Vicky, just coming back to you about, in terms of building relations with your manufacturers in Africa, I mean, how much, I don't mean to use the phrase due diligence, but that's what springs to mind in terms of getting under the bonnet of your manufacturers and being able to sell them with confidence to the buyers, this in the exploiting world, or whatever way you wanted to phrase it. Talk me through that process if you will.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, great. No, I don't want to say your bias is showing when the first question around trade with Africa is about due diligence. So we would approach it the same way we would approach doing business here. So at the start, you mentioned, like in my former life, had I ever gotten out to Mayo? I had. I audited a really nice manufacturing operation there. Not perfect, but really good and treating the work as well and all the rest of it. So yeah, the approach is the same across the board. What you're trying to find out is, are the workers treated with respect? Are their rights being upheld? And then you take a wider look, where you look at the footprint that the business has in its community. So is it doing anything to damage the environment? Is it built on land that it leases legitimately? So make sure that there's nothing like water grabbing or land grabbing at play. You have to get eyes on the business yourself. So that's the truth the world over. You have to press flesh, you have to eyeball people, you have to really get up close and see what they're about. Most of the people we deal with in our producer network are SMEs or MSMEs. Most of them are cooperatives, most of them are social enterprises. They're set up with a social goal in mind, and most of the time those social goals are aligned with our own. So that always makes things easier, but that's not good enough when you're then going to conduct the majority of your relationship at a distance. So it requires like a lot of checking in, a lot of kind of follow up, a lot of like, for example, in Kenya, I think like the minimum wage goes up quite regularly, and it goes up really steeply because inflation is a huge problem in emerging or even middle income economies. So you have kind of people increasing their wage bill by 6% every 6 months to cope with inflation. And you have to make sure that people are doing that, because it's all well and good to say that when we went out and did a check in like July 2019 that everybody was being paid a living wage, but going then to December 2020, people could be getting pushed into the lower end of minimum wage issues or minimum wage territory, and that comes with issues. So yeah, I suppose the due diligence thing is a question that we get asked an awful lot. And I would always kind of push back and just say it's no different to anywhere else in the world. And then you say, oh yeah, but the corruption's terrible. And you say, well, yeah, I mean, Ireland isn't squeaky clean when it comes to corruption either. I worked quite closely with Bangladesh. Bangladesh is one of the biggest clothing exporters in the world. Not squeaky clean either when it comes to corruption. Doesn't stop big corporates working there. So you just apply the rules to everybody on an equal and fair basis, and you don't let bias get in the way.
Thanks for that, Vicky. No, great. Siobhan, I'm going to come back to you, and I see Damien Quinn in the audience here, and I've met Damien myself on a couple of occasions. A great guy, and is contributing very well there to the chat forum. I'm going to bring you back, Siobhan, and I'm not sure who mentioned this to me some years back. It may have been a conversation we had, but it was remarked that there was always going to be a challenge in encouraging people with maybe a criminal past who are used to getting significant amounts of money in relatively short periods of time to get involved in a social enterprise space where, it's possibly minimum wages what you're looking at. And you've obviously succeeded in at least getting a lot of people part of that way. And just what's your magic dust, or what's your magic spell to what? I mean, you touched on it briefly with the last answer, but if you could just develop on a little bit more, exactly, what has for you been the common denominator for those people that have moved from, we'd say, one side to social enterprise?
To be honest with you, Donna, I would say it's the individual then themselves. We have the highest recidivism rates for the younger age group. So 18 to 24, 25, 26. they're really, in many cases, they're prolific repeat offenders, you know, when they come out. So when they come out of prison, they don't see any hope. So therefore, they're very quickly brought back into what they had known. And as you said, Donald, it's very hard to compete with a minimum wage or living wage position when they've been used to getting a lot of money through illicit means. So in many cases, to be honest with you, Donald, I don't think there is any magic dust. I think the individual in many cases will decide, I've had enough. And whether that's just they've aged out of crime, they've just basically gotten too old to be doing jump overs, to be doing the running around, or their family pressures. There's a whole range of different things that could actually lead to that. In my experience of working with people directly, it is a combination. They end up starting to see, they may have had a close call, their life may have been under threat. Their family are just sick of it. Their kids are the ones who basically are the motivating factor to say, Dad, I don't want you going back in prison. And then they just really want to change. They in many cases, they might have spoken to someone who's been there before. That's what I was saying before. That role model piece, Donald, is worth its weight in gold for people who have been caught up in that and actually do want to, and have matured out of it and want to make a change. So I think to get people into social enterprises, as I said, it's a stepping stone. And when you start to show that there actually is something beyond social enterprises, but that what they get from a social enterprise is that much needed employer to employer work reference. That unlocks someone's future when they have a criminal record. Not only are they bringing their skills and talents and all of the stuff that they may have learned pre going into prison or on probation, they're bringing all their skills and talents, experience, education, everything that they've earned and invested their time in to the social enterprise. They put it into practice. And then thankfully, in many cases, what we're seeing is that they springboard out and into mainstream employment where there is the higher earning potential. And they do that generally very quickly.
Thanks a million, Siobhan. Ellie, I'm going to bring you back in again. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're back up on stage, Ellie. Yeah. Ellie, it struck me that volunteerism for you was the magic wonder dust, really, that got you from A to B and was the catalyst to set you on your way. What words of hope or inspiration might you have for others in your in direct provision, and indeed feeling down or whatever like that, and I'm not sure what the next step is? What words of encouragement would you have for them in terms of getting involved in volunteerism at any level?
I would say like that's 100. Like for me, I always say that's 199% move to make for yourself, because that's a stepping stone. In terms of speaking about me and volunteerism, it has quite helped me a lot. It has built such a huge network, a huge community, and that's also a huge part of what has made me to be this very successful. I was really, really lucky that in my way, I met people that were truthful, were honest, and they were just there to give me everything that they have, and which they have massively successfully done that to me. Because I didn't want to go that part, but you know, like as everyone says, that coronavirus has kind of like take us a little bit step back. But for me, it has also helped me to actually grow, that maybe I couldn't grow where I am right now because I was all over the place. But I think the coronavirus helped me to calm me a little bit down and use all the creativity that I have, because I've been trying. I remember speaking to you, Donald, just try to figure out things and, you know, ask for advice. And I've been trying to reach to social enterprise wherever I can to look for mentorship. But in my way, I met someone who introduced me to someone and say, you know what, Ellie, you don't need a mentor, but you need somebody to manage you. So I met a couple that they own the Irish business, run Irish business, which they're also into production. And they come about to me. I sat down with them through Zoom. Now we can only talk through Zoom. And out of that discussion, we've also rebranded our table. And not only rebranded our table, but I'll tell you, like in 2 months' time, we'll be in every supermarket in Ireland with our brand. So, which is very, very successful move. That I'm really shocked to say this, but I'm too excited.
Is that an exclusive, Ellie? Can we say that that's an exclusive launch here on?
It is exclusive launch. It is exclusive launch. I've just started also a YouTube channel, and with that too, and we've also developed merchandise. So I have my own caterer. Like we have our own, actually, okay, it's not me, but we have now our own caterer line and production line. So there's amazing stuff that's coming, and it's exclusive, really.
I appreciate that, Ellie. We'll all remember where we were when you heard that news, guys. Fantastic.
Yeah, and we have also a new website that's coming. It's called Ellie's Kitchen Home Edition. So people can look out for that.
Just in time for Christmas. Just in time for Christmas. Dermot, I'm going to bring you back in, Dermot. Dermot, coming back to Under the Rainbow, tell me, for the last word for this session, what is the future for Under the Rainbow? What's the vision? Where is this going to? And what do you hope to, what's your ultimate goal here?
Oh, take over the world. Only joking. No, seriously. Well, that could be it. That could be it. No, we are going to, our niche now is that we're finding our niche, so we want to market it. So what we really want to do is go into the corporate world, let's say, and teach them how to look after their staff. And the money we earn, that we want to look, and put it back into the community, and to reach out to the underdog, let's say, and support them. This is what I'm hearing an awful lot about the adversity that people are in. So the goal for Under the Rainbow is to help a lot of people out there, regardless what background they're from, color their skin, to reach their full potential. And that is what our goal is. So we are going to be going into the corporate world and teaching them, learning from them, and let's say, to be honest, get paid from them, but then we will have the ability to, as I say, provide low-cost counseling, for example. So that's what we're hoping to do, is to help people out there find their potential, regardless of who they are. And that's our goal.
Dermot, I have one final question. It's actually for Siobhan. It's off the Google Doc sheet, and it is Siobhan Cafferty. Does your project liaise with employers as the end goal? And if yes, how are you finding that conversation? Are employers open-minded and wanting to support those wanting to move into mainstream employment?
Great question. I'm not so sure who asked that, but it's a great question. I don't deal directly with employers myself. There is a funded organization called ISEN that deal with employers, and they assist employers to be able to know the right way to be able to hire someone. And I suppose it's more about hiring someone who has the talent and the skills and the necessary aptitude, I suppose, in a way to be able to fulfill the vacancy that they have. I mean, one of the mistakes that has been made over the years, to be honest with you, is that just because someone has a criminal record and then there's a vacancy here in whatever the job might be, that a vacancy plus the person go together. That's not necessarily the case. In fact, none of us would do a job that we don't like. And just because there's a male offender in prison, Donald, that they're shoehorned into doing construction training, that doesn't necessarily mean that when they get out, that they want to be down a ditch at 7 o'clock in the morning when it's lashing rain. So we need to be able to work with employers more. As I said, there is that organization called ISEN. You'll find them online. I can also put the link up here. And I suppose it is something that we are looking at doing more so with the new strategy that's coming out. And we're going to be setting up an employers forum. So employers have a say in how, I suppose, what their fears might be, what their risks might be. But I have to say, overall, despite a recession, despite COVID, employers are open to recruiting from a new source of talent. And I have to say, I think, and as I mentioned earlier on in my piece, COVID has brought about challenges, but it has also brought around about opportunities, and it has started dialogues that we couldn't have before for a whole host of different reasons. And I think the one theme that's come across tonight in everybody's conversation, and all of the other panelists, is the importance of being employed or being an employer, and that we can't underestimate that for people and their self-worth. So I think employers are starting to see that. And I think the likes of Damien, just delighted that you're here and able to share that and share your personal experience. We need to change the impression that employers have of people who have been through the criminal system, because there are absolute gems like Damien who need that support to be able to move on.
Appreciate that, Siobhan. One final question, and Ellie, you have 30 seconds. And I don't know how you're going to answer this in 30 seconds. Because social enterprises focus on helping solve a social problem, Do you feel that advocacy and political involvement might be needed in most projects to help solve society's problems?
Yeah, it does. Like in everything that happens, there needs to be a political will. So, it really needs to be associated in solving those problems anyway.
Ellie, that's fantastic. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Chris Gordon, the mic is yours, sir.
I understand. Thank you. I'm a little bit taken away with the power of positivity tonight, and I know that sounds really stupid because I know technically that's our game in the Irish Social Enterprise Network. But I really appreciate the stories, and you forget the reasons why people do these things, and so deeply appreciate that. We're a little bit ahead of time, which is unusual, which is great, which means that I get to leave you guys before our scheduled end time. This is a purpose. This networking session is done on purpose so that you guys get a chance to chat to each other as well. And so forgive me if you're on the live stream at the moment, you're not able to take part. For all of you that are here, in a moment, I'm going to break you out into rooms just for 10 minutes. Your job is just to introduce yourself and maybe talk about anything that matters that you think is important, to talk about things. What we really want to do is not be passive. And for all of the great people that we ever get to have chat on here, it's way more important that we get to listen to the people that are in the audience. In fact, the audience are far more times able to answer questions and to be more inspiring, even given our current panel. So we're delighted to be able to offer the opportunity to hear from ye. To do that, I'm going to set you up into breakout rooms. For those on the live stream, you are going to be in a room where it's going to be 10 minutes sign, so you may not necessarily get the full value of the networking, but what we're going to do is we're going to assign everybody into the rooms and open them, and we're going to get everybody assigned to the rooms. So as soon as you see this, just check into your rooms. We are going to maybe take 10 minutes, come back in, we'll give you a broadcast message, and we will see you then. Thank you very much. I'm going to set you into the rooms now. Just click through and we'll talk to you after. If you haven't got it yet, don't worry, it's coming. We are getting there, going through all the rooms. Appreciate it. Thanks for being understanding. Brilliant. Nearly there.
What about yourself?
All right. No, yeah. Nice to see you. It's been a while.
Honest to God. You're looking fresh and healthy anyway.
You're busy.
Busy out. You're going to the gym, are you?
I do that the whole time. Actually, you came to the gym, sure. We built the other one as well. The one's up and running as well, but they're closed now for COVID.
Of course.
Hey, Leila.
Hi. Sorry, my laptop makes crazy noise. Good. I'm really enjoying the events. Donna, you're doing a great job.
Oh, they can talk. It makes everything a lot easier when they can talk.
Yeah. How are you, Damien?
Good now, yeah. Good. It's an interesting thing. It's the first one of these things I've been involved in. I suppose I know Siobhan. I knew she was going to be talking at this, and I'm obviously from personal reasons. I wanted to see what it was all about, and I enjoy listening to her speak. It's a challenging social enterprise that she has, in fairness, because you work with difficult people, and and I have experiences of how hard it is to get a break and stuff like that. So that's why I'm interested in her work.
Damien, it strikes me, Damien, that it's an area of work that you'd be very interested in yourself, the stuff that Siobhan does.
Well, I am. I'm actually a part of my. I just finished the masters with UCC, and my topic was barriers to reintegration, and that's like, you can understand why people have like.
What happened? Chris is doing his magic. He did send a message. I didn't read it. Maybe he has few people in different and not enough room. Oh, anyway, Donna, remember the first time we met, I was telling you your brand is familiar, but I couldn't remember where I saw it. I thought it was from work. But no, it was actually from the first event I went, I learned about social entrepreneurship, and I was like, that's me. It was Catalyst. Remember, you guys were sponsoring it.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah,
yes, 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 yes.
yeah,
That's where was that, Leila?
ooh,
The chocolate factory or
the
was
first
it
one, the first event. I
Tara,
can't
the
remember.
first one?
Tara,
Tara.
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
yeah,
okay. Yeah, no, look at it. Yeah, there were good attendances at those things.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I heard about social entrepreneurship, and I was like, oh my God, that's me. I'm not a charity, and I'm definitely and not like my business mind is not like I'm not about just making profit. So it was like a light bulb went in my head,
So you
and
were talking to
now,
me you were talking to me back then, Leila, about microfinance, weren't you?
yeah, it's still the idea is still in the box. I have to open that box and start working on it because there's a lot of people are coming up with different products there in microfinance. So I have to get it moving before somebody else doing the same thing I want to do.
So what is Leila doing now on a daily basis? What does your what do you spend your day at, Leila?
Yeah, I work part-time. I need to pay the bills.
Yes.
So I work in nonprofit organization 3 days a week in finance.
Who's that for, Leila?
Financial Justice Island. Do you know them? They're very
Nope.
small. They're activism nonprofit.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
how are they funded, Leila?
EU money.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, like it's proper NGO. Yeah, so they're kind of campaigning about tax justice. They do workshop about tax justice, about economic, how it's impacting people, and how the gap of those, policies that are made are increasing the gap between the wealth and the poor. So,
Are
yeah.
they long duration?
Oh, yeah. But they were called Debt Coalition, I think. They were the one, they were campaigning for the Jubilee debt, for the third world country to have debt relief or something that during 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, so they changed their name now. Yeah.
And how long are you there?
Oh, just this from May this year.
Okay. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's good for part-time. Yeah, but I'm still working on this and working. I'm trying to, because I see the impact it's making. I started last year, the first events at the startup week, and we had like almost 100 people, over 120 signed up, and almost 100 people show up during the startup week. Dublin, I don't know if you're familiar to that.
No.
Okay, this year they canceled the event this year, but they started 2018. Yeah, the first event. So in October, 1 week in October, they used to be startup week. So they're just promoting entrepreneurship, especially in tech area, because my project was about tech, so I was involved in that community. So I hold my first event for social entrepreneurship, and it was amazing. So many people came because I was frustrated. The Catalyst stopped doing the events, and there's not a lot of networking events for social entrepreneurship. So I was networking in entrepreneurship ecosystem, and I was amazed how open and inclusive the community was. But for social entrepreneurship, it was very closed and exclusive. I'm like, why is this thing? I stopped complaining. I'm like, I'm gonna do my own event. So I did, and I was amazed. A lot of people came and they were saying the same thing. And I was like, whoa, so I'm not the only one feeling this way. And I just started doing. Now this one is our 9th event. Yeah.
And tell me, Leila, I mean, take you back there a couple of steps to you mentioned about the insular kind of mentality of some of the social entrepreneurs. Where did you come across that again?
The mentality of social entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, in terms of like, were they insular? Were they're not very welcoming somewhere? Did you say that?
Oh, it's just that's how it is. Like for the ecosystem for social entrepreneurship, it's closed. Like you have to be a member of the community. Like for and it was only like 2 or 3 organizations really, like the Irish.
Social Entrepreneurs Ireland, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one, the social social entrepreneurship island, and this one.
Oh,
Yeah, there was,
Social Enterprise Republic of Ireland, is it?
yeah, something like that. But it was very like most of the events, like the two, because I move around the two world and the two ecosystem, they're completely different.
Right.
You know, but it's growing now. You know, more people are getting to know about entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, and more players, you know, are getting into the ecosystem, and we'll collaborate. The last event we did event in September, 4 of us, you know, worked together. Chris and myself and peers from social entrepreneurship incubation program, and Adam from the Startup Europe. So it's just, yeah, and the more we collaborate, the more we open the ecosystem, like the events for everybody, for the public, because most of the events was for the members, you know, you have to be a members, and how can new person who just wanna find out about the, you know, the social entrepreneurship and just starting to work on their business, like myself, how can you get into the community? It was tough. So
And I'll tell you before now, because you've just reminded me. So when we go back out of this chat room, Leila, I'm supposed to get closing remarks from the 4 panelists.
yeah.
How does that work? What am I supposed to ask?
Just ask them, do they have action? Is the action or call of action?
Call to action, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Will they know what that means?
Yeah, maybe they may have. I'd send in the email, so maybe they may have like Ellie. She wants to promote her new product range, so maybe she can talk a little bit. And yeah, and Vicky also with her launch, maybe she can talk a little bit when she wants to launch, when that they're planning to.
Oh, okay. No, that's perfect. No, that's perfect. That curtails the amount of thinking that I have to do, which is always very beneficial and quite appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And so tell me, in terms of you know, obviously socializing and, you know, getting out about and meeting new people, Leila, in Dublin, that's pretty much a thing of the past now for a while. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you work from home or do you go into the office?
From home.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And where is the office normally anyway, Leila?
In Marion Square.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. They actually share the building with a friend of the Earth. I don't know if you're familiar with the organization, kind of young activism organization.
Oisin Coughlin, yeah, Oisin, yeah, right,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know them, but I know of them. Yeah, that's good. That's
yeah,
good.
so they're using the same building they're sharing.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So go back to the microfinance then, Leila. What needs to be done there?
Conquer my fear first.
Really? But you have the technological background to get something up and running, yeah?
No, my background is finance. That's the thing. I need one thing. I need a co-founder who's techie, because I want somebody in the team who's techie. So
I was listening to you sent me the video of the last one in with Deirdre Martell and the rest of the speakers, and I had to skip through a lot, but I got, was it you guys I was listening to? I'm sure it was. Yes, it was. It was about impact investment and stuff like that. And the remark was made about the South Africans.
Yeah.
Being extremely forward thinking in their use of financial instruments for ethical investment and stuff like that. Do you have any more information on that, Leila, yourself?
Yeah, I've done research, because even East Africa, actually, they're even more pioneer when it comes to what do they call it? What's the word?
Financial
fintech. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with M-Pesa. Yeah, they're very, so I've done my research, and a lot of players are coming in, so I have to make my move soon. But I want to set the ground right. I don't want to rush, because it's finance at the end of the day.
You still have your idea, Leila. Yeah. And you know that your idea is not out there. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, you sleep well at night, so.
Yeah, I think we have to go back.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you so much,
All right,
Donald.
Leila, no problem, no problem.
Okay, bye.
quit as well, so we see how it goes. But anyway, it's great to have them involved. Yeah, very supportive up here. Very
You know who's a
supportive.
man for a good amount of money? John Evite. Oh no, John's left his job. John is no longer working for Rethink Ireland. John would have been a good.
John.
You used to be useful to us, John. What's going to happen now? Huh? What are we going to do? Philip, it's be great group up there in Donegal. Anyway, I know there's a great network and Spiego Sport and all the other groups that are up there too that are award winning. You know, Donegal's really putting its name on the map. So delighted to have that. Okay, so we are getting people back into the rooms. Forgive me, for some reason I'm going to play technology because that's been the theme for tonight. You may have been in a room with one other person, and I hope you had the crack because that is what tonight is about, Gavin. It is about rolling with it and going with it. Social entrepreneurs have to deal with it when it happens. We had COVID, and now you didn't think it could get much worse, and we had a Zoom breakout session, and that's what happened. So delighted to have you all back in the room. I'm going to leave it over to
I wasn't in a room. I wasn't in a room. You just left me by myself.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, Ellie, you could have come. Oh, here, Ellie, that is a disaster.
I was left by myself as well. I was wondering, was everybody?
Me
I don't know
too.
why that happened, Leo. I don't know. And
I'd ask for my money back, lads.
Totally. You should get.
Oh.
It's a little bit unusual. Normally we have like tech support, and no, we have me. So why that happened? Listen, I did. It's going to be a disaster. That's all I'm going to say. No, delighted to have you all back in. I hope you kind of roll with it, and I deeply appreciate you guys taking part. With that, I'm going to take it back to Donald to maybe clean up any of my mess and maybe take us into the next 20 minutes. We will have you out before 8:30, we said, and hopefully we'll be able to see you on the Twitter hour. But Donald, take it away.
Wow, well, you know, I thought I had only 8 minutes left to go, Chris, so you've kind of put me in a bit of a bind here. Anyways, the focus of our next little session is to do with asking our panelists for their call to action. So if we start at the beginning with Vicky, like we started with Vicky before. Vicky, will you tell us, if you have now, you've got your 2 to 3 minute pitch here. What would you like to tell the rest of the audience to get up of their backside to do in supporting you and your endeavors?
Right. So no pressure. So obviously my first pitch is to buy stuff from our as yet unlaunched website. Once it launches, we are doing packs of like teas, coffees, chocolates. Some of them have great taste awards. Some of them are like used in Michelin starred restaurants, etc. Blah blah. Won't bore you with the commercial pitch, but I think the big thing for me is something that we find. It's not a challenge, but you know, there's a big push in Ireland to buy local and support local businesses. And we think that is absolutely important because there's no point in PMIA existing to set up thriving manufacture in somewhere else when actually Ireland's business community is on its knees. So do buy local, but please be aware that there is a world outside of the island of Ireland. And rather than giving some sort of, I don't know, Catholic hangover of charity and thinking that we help people less well off than us, think about those people as not being less well off than you, but just in need of a chance. And if you do have extra cash to use, buy from them because they don't need your charity, they need a chance. And they need kind of people to think of them on an equal basis. So yeah, so if you enjoy chocolate, please be aware that there's no such thing as Irish chocolate because cocoa beans do not grow in Ireland. If you like drinking tea, please be aware that Barry's or Lions, it doesn't matter. It's all coming from Kenya. If you like coffee, please be aware that Maxwell House is not coffee, so please don't drink it. Buy an Ethiopian coffee. That is the home of coffee. And allow the people who grow the products and manufacture them to capture the value and to make something of their lives. That is my pitch.
Wow, Ethiopian coffee. I mean, that's where I'd be going next. Okay, Ethiopian coffee. I've got that. Website address, Vicky. Is it too early to say?
No, not at all. So we'll be repointing our existing domains to the shop. So it is www.proudlymadeinafrica.org.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thanks a million, Vicky. From Vicky to Siobhan. And Siobhan, what can we do for the social enterprise sector with the prison service and probation service? What do we need to be concentrating on?
I actually kind of broke this down into 3 different
Yes,
sections, Donna. Yeah, if that's all right. So for individuals who have been through the criminal justice sector and who are experiencing all of the barriers that Donal or Damien has outlined very articulately in his column piece, and I agree, Vicky. I think that absolutely, I would gladly read what Damien has to say, as everybody else would. Damien, you've got a new job there now coming your way, I'm sure. I would say to those individuals, ask. Simple word, ask. Irish people aren't great about asking, but we love to be asked. And I would say, go out there, ask for help. This is, again, has been a theme of the chat this evening, right from Dermot saying, like, he when he was in the depths of the depression, he asked for help, he sought help. Don't be afraid to ask. So, and you will find someone that will assist you. And if you can't do that yourself. To employers, I would say, see beyond someone's past. See them for the individual that they are today, for the work that they've put into themselves, for the future that they want to have, and not only for themselves, but also for their family. And then for those who have money, Donal, John, all of those on this talk, anybody else out there, I would say to buy wisely. And I agree with Vicky, we need to just change how we look at buying things. And I think that goes from us as individuals to right the way up to government departments. And I will say this almost at every single talk that I give. We have to be more socially responsible in our public procurement. And, every single government agency and department uses taxpayer money to buy in goods and services. If some of that money goes and is shared to social enterprises for goods or services that they need, the impact of that euro is going to have a far greater reach than if it's just going to commercial entities. So yes, so they were my 3 pieces, Donal.
That's fantastic, Siobhan. Really appreciate that. Ellie, please tell us your call to action.
I will agree with Vicky there that, you know what, see people for who they are, support people, because people don't need charity, but people need push and support. Because people that are coming here to Ireland, many of them, they're people that if they can be given a second chance and opportunity, they can be even people that they can create employment, and a lot of people will benefit. And also they'll socially contribute to the economy of this country. So I think see beyond people, give people a chance. People don't need charity, but they need to be pushed and they need to be shown directions. People can make it.
Excellent, Ellie. Very, very concise there. Appreciate that. Dermot.
Yes, the last.
Well, it's not. It mightn't be last.
Oh. Good.
Chris is creating time here for us, so we'll fill it appropriately. Dermot, what's your call to action?
Okay, I'll do a sales pitch of Under the Rainbow first of all. If you want a fast-growing social enterprise to support you in your well-being, whether you're individual, or if you are a corporate, or if you're another social enterprise who needs training in diversity and inclusion, we are the team to help you because we have vast experience. We're excellent trainers, excellent at listening, active listening, because someone's a therapist. So that is the pitch for Under the Rainbow. If you want a fast-moving, fast-developing social enterprise, contact us for your diversity and inclusion needs. But I'm going to leave you I saw something recently on a social media app, a little piece, and I actually got this from a client. I don't know who wrote it, but the team here is Hope. So I want to read this out to you. It won't take long. I just want to read it out to you because it touched me, and I actually shared it on another social media, and it actually got a great response because I think there's a lot of stress, a lot of worry out there. So this is just for Hope. I'll just read it out. I've been reading about how the Renaissance came after the Black Death, the roaring 20s after the Spanish flu, even the swinging 60s after the 1958 Asian flu pandemic. We can look forward to a period of amazing creativity when this thing is all over. Our human response to adversity, now that's one major reason to be cheerful. So that's a powerful piece. We are going through adversity, we're going through some hopelessness, but there is hope out there. Human race, human beings, we've come out of areas like this before. we can do it again.
Thank you very much, Dermot. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. And I'm just going to look back over my notes to see now, did I want to go back to any of our speakers about something? No, I says, Chris, I am good to go, sir. That is my job done and dusted.
And I would deeply appreciate for you and for all of the speakers, Donald, thank you so much for taking us through those journeys. Thanks to the speakers for taking us through their journeys. It's phenomenal. I know it sounds really stupid because everybody got their phones on mic and all the rest of it, but a nice round of applause visually is quite nice. That's good. Yeah, brilliant. You know, it just helps me feel like we're all in the same room together, and I sincerely hope that you did feel like you were connected to the people. Of course, that isn't just by the beauty of technology. It's through the ideas that we have, and we've all for some reason logged in for the YourY network, our social enterprise network, whatever links we have to the Good Summit as well. The Good Summit was founded on the ideas of good people with good initiatives coming together to do some good in the world. There is that beautiful quote, which I do have to end on to just make Jules really happy, who is the coordinator for the Good Summit. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's all that ever has. Margaret Mead. So deep appreciation for everybody who has come on tonight. Before you go, I have one more thing. I've got a poll for you all, if you could just maybe have a look over it. While I do that, I'm going to thank all of our people who have made this happen, including Forfait, but particularly to our YourY network partner, Leila, who for every week pulls it out of the bag that she runs these things. So we're deeply appreciative for Leila and all of her work. So if you have a poll and it's up, please do click in. We are looking at some themes at the moment. We've narrowed them down and hopefully they're of use to you guys, and hopefully that's something that we'll get to see. We're also thinking about some sort of Christmas event because we had one last year, you know, as much as we love to all get together, I think celebrating at least one time a little bit towards the end of this ridiculous year would be phenomenal. To end all that, we deeply appreciate you guys coming along. So check out the Good Summit for the next 2 days. Do check out the YourY network. But for the only thing that I need to leave you with, the Irish Social Enterprise Network, like every Wednesday, runs a Twitter hour. So sent IRL. We've got some brilliant members who take part every week. And this week we're asking about conferences. What are the things that have inspired you? What are the things that you have learned? And what are the things that you'd like to learn from in future things? It's really important that we don't just run these to fill up airtime. We do it because it's necessary and it's useful. And so we really want to see you guys take part. We really thank you. I'm just going to end the poll now and share the results. So it looks like social entrepreneurs' journeys, obviously those stories are coming up, and SDGs and impact investors. And did the event meet your expectations? We may have phrased that question wrong. If your expectations were quite low, perhaps we've met them. So I hope that that was not the case and that you thought that it was useful. Pardon my technology faux pas, but we're deeply appreciative of you taking the time. I said I'd let you go early because that's always good. So get a cup of tea, relax, get pizza, do whatever you want, and be back on at 9 o'clock for Twitter, where we'll talk about all good things, conferences, and all those things that we might be able to help with. But from us, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Good luck and good night. Thank you.
Guys. Cheerio.
Good.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Ellie. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Leila. It was really beautiful. And Neo, nice meeting you.
Lovely to meet you. And Ellie, you've inspired me today.
Thank you. Which part of the world are you?
I'm from South Africa.
Oh, you're in South right now?
No, I live in Dublin, but I'm South African. Sorry,
I can tell the accent. I knew where it was coming from, but anyway, I was thinking you are live in South Africa right now. Nice meeting you.
No. I wish.
I met her yesterday.
A long time. Listen, good night, everybody. Is this on next week again?
Next month.
Man. Listen, bye. See you on Tuesday, Leila.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Good luck, see ya. Thank you. Are you still recording there?